Hi guys, welcome to Westminster Uncensored. I'm Michael Heaver.
I'm Patrick Christie.
And so much to talk about today. We're leading on, do you trust Theresa May to deliver on Brexit? So many stories going on at the minute. We're going to bring you all the very latest on that. A lot of other things to talk about as well, including political correctness and Gordon Brown and Brexit future, the opportunities for the fishing industry as well. As ever, dive in, tell us what you think. But Patrick, we start with this very, very interesting political article done today by Alex Wickham. Basically, he's gone through, he set out the reality of where we are with Brexit, and how's it looking?
Yeah, no, well, not great if you actually care about Brexit. Basically, are we about to be sold out by Theresa the Appeaser? And the most recent noises coming out of government is that she's binned off a no-deal scenario, which obviously will reduce our leverage going into negotiations. And it looks like she might have outfoxed some of the Brexiteers in Cabinet, mainly because they didn't realise that's what she was doing. And so clearly they are all a bit wound up about that. She's rumoured to be willing to make concessions on some of the 15 amendments of the Brexit bill that are going towards the Commons on June the 12th. And she still hasn't published the government's plan for what it actually wants from Brexit negotiations. So, you know, basically chaos, confusion and calamity, unless she's playing a game so shrewd that world chess champions couldn't figure it out. Looks like a total lack of leadership and decision making. That's hardly prime ministerial.
Now, we know a lot of you guys have concerns anyway about the direction and sort of the speed of Brexit, how it's been moving so slowly under Theresa May. I do recommend you go and have a read of this article on Politico. Basically, the key line for me here reads, senior leaders in the government said the UK is headed for a Brexit that nominally keeps the country outside the single market but binds Britain to the EU's regulatory framework to all intents and purposes inside a customs union and with large ongoing payments to Brussels. That doesn't sound like independence to me, guys. That sounds like a cop-out. That sounds like a sellout. That sounds like something that I don't think many of you are going to be very happy with whatsoever. But as I say, so many things going on with Brexit. We're going to bring you all the very latest, so do stick with us. Give us a retweet, give us a like, and of course, visit westminster.com. And you may have noticed the shirts, new nifty little thing we're doing here. Now you guys were asking for shirts, you're going to get shirts. Got the Westminster logo on there. This is the commemorative Independence Day. Where were you on June 23rd, 2016? You'll never forget the day, will you, when the country voted leave. Got the date on there. Go and head over to westminster.com. If you click on shop at the top there, and I think we can show you one of the other shirts as well. There's the Brexiteer shirt. You can get that in black or
perfect for the
white.
World Cup, some would say. Look at it with the England logo on it there. So yeah, come on.
That's the British
logo, exactly. So you can get it for the World Cup and just cheer on, you know, at least part of the United Kingdom.
Yeah, but if you go on westminster.com, click on shop at the top, you can get these shirts. Lots of you buying them already. Lovely jubbly. Get stuck in. But look,
so let's just
let's go to the comments
because we've got basically 600 of you watching live now, which is absolutely epic. So thank you very much, guys. People, Suzanne Hare, do not trust us, Theresa May. She's already sold us out. Do not trust her to deliver it what we voted for. That's from Sheila Stacey. So please keep your comments rolling in. It's an interactive show, this, guys. We do want your opinions. If you have just joined us as well, the key element to this, of course, is that Theresa May looks like she's selling us all out on Brexit. She's banning the cabinet from talking about no deal.
Well, that's the next thing.
Looks like she's slipped in the fact that she's actually taken no deal off the table under the radar. She's still not put a plan together for what she wants. She might be willing to make concessions on some of these 15 amendments going towards Parliament. I mean, what's the point, Theresa? Why even bother with Brexit if you're going to try and stuff us with it anyway?
Yeah, quite unbelievable, guys. The next story, again, this comes from that first article. Basically, this whole thing of no deal. When did you last hear the government seriously talk up the prospect of no deal? And now we hear, again, according to Alex Wickham, Downing Street advisors considered no deal to be off the table, despite the fact that ministers at the Department for Brexit in the EU, that's the Brexit department, still believe the UK could realistically walk away from talks. Officials at the department said at the turn of the year, they wanted to ramp up no deal preparations, but they weren't backed by Theresa May. We didn't get a minister for no deal. We didn't get the resources and the attention required to adequately prepare for no deal. And as Nigel Farage and others have said, you ain't going to get a good deal if the other side, if the other party knows that you can't realistically walk away. This is negligence. It's negative. Why have we not got the government saying we're putting money into no deal? We have the ability to walk away. We don't have to take the crumbs that Brussels brushes off the table. That's why we voted leave in the first place, guys. Not to be tied to the European Union. Not to have them dictate our regulatory framework, not to be bound by the judgments of the European Court of Justice, but it seems, bit by bit, that potentially is what's on its way.
Yeah, and I mean, you look at it, it looks as though people like David Davis and Boris Johnson and Michael Gove that are in the cabinet weren't really aware that this had been taken off the table. According to reports, the Department for Exiting the European Union was still working along the assumption that no deal was an option, that it was a backstop option, but it was an option nonetheless. An important one if you're entering into negotiations. If you were manager of Manchester United and you wanted to sign Gareth Bale from Real Madrid, and you went and just said to them, look, we're going to get Bale up, we want him at all costs. We're building our entire season, next season, around having Gareth Bale. Right, we need him. Well, then Real Madrid are going to ask 200 million for him, aren't they? If you make it perfectly obvious that you're willing to walk away and you've got other players in mind, then all of a sudden you get it for 100 million, don't you? It's basic common sense. It's not exactly the art of the deal for Theresa May. And I think you'll find that cabinet ministers now, as we might be coming on to later in the show, are getting more and more wound up by this and actually are prepared to almost, it would seem, spark a bit of an internal cabinet revolt, which is not before time.
Guys, so much to get through on today's show. If you're enjoying what we're doing, give us a retweet, give us a like, go to westmonster.com. If you like the shirts, if you like what you see, and how couldn't you, let's face it, go and click on the shop button on westmonster.com, get yourself a nice little shirt. I like this one. Celebrate. Remember, where were you? June 23rd, 2016, a day we'll never forget. Our Independence Day, you've got to celebrate it, you've got to get stuck in.
You don't automatically look as good as Michael in it if you put it on though. Just a disclaimer there, you will still look exactly like you look now.
What a charm, Ray.
Yeah.
Look, moving on to our next story. I mean, by the way, guys, it's still ongoing, I think, but Theresa May at Prime Minister's questions today, basically weak, unable to set out things like details on the white paper, unable to set out details on her vision.
It's ridiculous.
Her pathway forward for Brexit. The country is dying out for. It's waiting for it. It wants leadership badly.
Yeah.
And it's not getting it. And we see today, again, another story. Go and head over to westmonster.com to see this. Telegraph reporting that there are growing concerns. Basically, a note has been handed around to ministers today talking about this so-called Irish backstop position. And it's looking like if there's no arrangement by the end of 2021, there's no end date for this. Basically, we could end up indefinitely hooked in to the customs union moving forward and hooked into the European Court of Justice with little control. There's a Conservative quote that's saying there is no mandate for this. More to the point, politically, it's very difficult because a lot of Conservatives will be concerned we are giving incentive to the EU to keep the backstop in place forever. You've got to have a date. You've got to have a cut-off. You've got to have a line in the sand of which you're not prepared to go beyond. And I think this sense of drift, of dither, of delay is an increasing feeling for Brexiteers. They want leadership. They want some clear, in black and white, guarantees of when we are getting our independence. Not hooked into the EU here and there. We don't want that. That was rejected. We want full independence.
Well, I think you have to ask yourself the question, if Theresa May is even hiding things from her own cabinet, if we're this far down the line and we haven't got a coherent plan and vision, and we've heard even Angela Merkel, who's everyone's best mate, obviously, heard Angela Merkel come out months ago and say, whenever she's in discussions with Theresa May, she's asking, what do you want? And Theresa May won't tell her, and they go back and forth. Angela Merkel was taking the mick out of Theresa May, which is, something, isn't it? I mean, this is ridiculous that we're this far down the line. If you just add it all up and you think, well, look, realistically, we are going to end up having a final round of negotiations with the European Union. If that final round of negotiations involves everything that needs to be still be negotiated, then it's not going to happen, is it? So do we then end up extending this transition period? Do we end up extending the fact that we'll be tied into the European Union? And before you know it, guys and girls, how long is it that we're actually still in the EU? Realistically, 6, 7, 8 years before we finally get round to it, by which time, of course, we could have had a general, we will have had a general election, all sorts could have changed. I mean, it's just crackers what's going on at the minute. It's delay and delay and delay, and I think realistically there is a case to be made for the fact that, in my opinion at least, Theresa May is doing this deliberately with a long-term view of actually keeping us in the European Union.
Couple of quite funny comments here. My pet mouse could run the country better, says Jimmy on Facebook.
Fantastic.
Mark Taylor, Italy will be out before us.
Quite possibly.
Well,
quite possibly.
I mean, the race is on, isn't it?
The thing is, they wouldn't funny around, would they? If they did have an independence vote, which, I mean, they may well do, certainly when it comes to the Euro they might, realistically, do you think the Italians would be in the same position as us now? Now, all right, I'd rather be British than living over there in Italy because it does look like chaos a lot of the time, but still, at least if they had a public vote, I do believe the will of the people would have been enacted by now, and we certainly wouldn't be in this position where our Prime Minister doesn't even know what she wants.
Yeah, lots of your comments rolling through now, guys. We've got Diane saying we need guys like you too, someone who talks sense. Thank you very much for your support. As ever, you can go to westmonster.com/support if you do want to back us. Lots of you supporting us. Please do chip in, and as I say, you can now go to the shop and get yourself a lovely little Brexit t-shirt as well.
Paul Christopher's been in touch. Thank you very much, Paul. Just saying Theresa May is a walking time bomb, and if you continue as Prime Minister of the Conservative Party, will explode.
Just a few more Brexit stories I want to skip through here, guys, just to give you the full picture of where we are. And it was another story, wasn't there, today, Patrick, about David Davis?
Oh, yeah, well, this
again, go on westminster.com to go and have a butchers at that.
Yeah, so David Davis, obviously staunch Brexiteer. It looks like he's just had enough, and who can blame him, to be honest? He keeps trying to paint a smile on every morning, but, you know, it must be difficult. It must be difficult going to work and just being systematically undermined by your own boss. So Theresa May's government could be about to come apart at the seams. It looks like David Davis has finally had enough, as I've said. He was promised constantly, and he's clearly been working towards, putting out a document, how ridiculous does this sound, that actually outlines what it is this government might want from Brexit going into negotiations. He's been blocked from publishing that.
Chance would be a fine thing, isn't it?
He's been blocked from publishing that 5 times, right? 5 times. A lot of which, it seems, has been done without his knowledge. So he's basically got the work ready, done everything ready, and then they've just gone, actually, David, do you mind having a day off? This one doesn't concern you. And so apparently, he looks like he might be about to go to the next cabinet meeting, or a cabinet meeting shortly, and just say, look, I've had enough of this. We need to have a serious cabinet discussion on this. That could obviously spark a cabinet revolt. If Theresa May's backed into a corner and she can't appease anyone anymore, well then what happens? You know, do you have the likes of David Davis saying, look, this is enough? But I mean, I must say they are running out of time, because this has been the case they've sleepwalked into for so long. And come June the 12th, we will be having a vote in Commons, won't we?
That leads us on nicely to the next story, Patrick, because where are you going to be next Tuesday? It's a huge day for Brexit. You remember the Europhile lords crashing in, overruling the public, overruling the government 15 times with these ridiculous amendments, everything from the EEA to removing the date of Brexit to staying in the customs union, all sorts of Brexit blocking shenanigans went on there. And basically, Eurosceptic MPs have warned Theresa May that she better not back down over these 15 amendments because, and the quote is, it would be catastrophic politically, damage Brexit and the chances of getting a good deal. We've done a lot on this story, guys. If you look at the background, I'm afraid, and you've got to face up to the reality, that the likes of Anna Soubry, those backbench Tory Ramonas, they number, let's say, between 10 and 15, maybe more, maybe less. But they could be the difference here. If they are hell-bent on basically stopping Brexit, then the government's in big trouble, because you could be led to a position whereby Theresa May and the government can't actually enact or get through their Brexit policy through Parliament. So, I mean, we're in a very precarious position here. Tuesday is a huge day.
Yeah.
Absolutely huge. And, you know, I just hope that for the sake of democracy, MPs have enough respect for people, have enough respect for the referendum result, have enough respect for the 17.4 million people to actually not stand in the way of what they voted for. And if they do, well then I'm afraid I think we're heading towards another election.
Yeah, and I mean, I spoke yesterday to a Conservative MP, David Morris. Who's a good friend of Westminster.
That's our next story, yeah.
And he's basically openly now, I just asked him, look, because he's a Remainer, right, but he just admits, well, there was a referendum result, so we need to crack on with it, So he's basically just come out openly said that the Tory rebels should lose the party whip if they vote against the government. You got your likes of Anna Soubry, as Michael's just said there, which, all right, okay, it's all very well and good having your deep principles, but we had a vote on those deep principles, didn't we? And you lost. And now if you vote against the government, realistically, you could find yourself in a position where you are voting to bring down your government, your own party leader, and which could cause a general election, which could, of course, lead to a Labour government, quite possibly will, if the Tories don't get their act together on it. So
lots of comments coming through here. May still dithering, trying to please everyone in our party. I do not trust May. May isn't going to let us leave, says Andrew. No foot in the door, Theresa. Lots of you obviously quite worried about what's going on. And I think, to be sceptical, to be slightly pessimistic at this stage, to be quite guarded over where we are going is fair enough, because the fact of the matter is we're not seeing the leadership, we're not seeing the line in the sand, we're not seeing that conclusive intention for full independence, and the mutterings that are coming out, the bits and pieces that are coming out that we're actually hearing about aren't, frankly, very reassuring, are they?
No, I just think overall, to kind of summarise what we've been going on about here with the whole Brexit thing, is there is a time limit on how long you can go without making a decision. And that doesn't just apply to politics, that just applies to pretty much all walks of life, And Theresa May, some would say she's gone way over that time limit personally. I did speak to Michael Fallon about a year ago, I think, who said to me that in his whole time he was in Cabinet with Theresa May, he never heard her express an opinion anything other than the question that was directly asked to her on a direct topic. Why? Because she doesn't have an opinion, does she? She clearly doesn't have a political doctrine, and that's an issue now. And it's an issue that actually could potentially have massive damaging consequences for the country. The time is coming where she's going to have to step up and make a decision. She can't appease everyone. She's going to have to be prepared to annoy a few people. Does she go with the side of whatever least resistance and basically try to appease the Remainers by giving us a bit of a piss-poor Brexit? And I don't think that's something that's going to go down well with the wider British public.
And we should just highlight as well, before we move on from this, and we're going to go and talk about Gordon Brown next and political correctness and a few other bits and pieces, so do stick around. By the way, give us a retweet, give us a like if you're enjoying the show. Is that Labour's position is just very bizarre as well. I mean, Jeremy Corbyn hasn't gone in on this so-called EEA option, but a lot of Labour MPs, including the likes of Chuck Ramuna, have. And basically, long and short of it is, it's a giant two fingers up to all of those working class voters, millions of them, that went out and voted Leave because they want to see an end to open borders. Yeah. Labour MPs openly backing EEA. That means freedom of movement. It shows you, I'm afraid, how little respect some MPs have for the electorate. And I think it shows you, some Labour MPs are just hell-bent on continuing on with open border mass migration. No matter what anyone thinks or how you vote, they just don't care.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I just find it absolutely ridiculous that you're in a position now, bearing in mind around 70% of Labour seats voted to leave. Now, it doesn't mean, of course, all Labour voters there. That vote will have included everyone from that constituency, but still, around 70% of Labour-held seats voted to leave. And you have these politicians standing up and saying things like, basically, we need to be in the EEA, which means free movement of people, which means the EU's full freedoms, and it means taking decisions from Brussels without us being a part of those decisions, which clearly isn't Brexit, is it? So, where are these people really getting off? They clearly are so detached, in my opinion. It shows they're so detached from the general public and from the people like you and I, maybe, and from general people, that they think this would be okay and a suitable option and that it would wash with us. I just find it very, very, very bizarre.
Now, moving on. Gordon Brown. Do you remember him? God. Yeah, exactly. It's just sort of, I mean, what emotion do you associate with when you think of Gordon Brown?
He's one of the few men that looks worse than his waxwork.
Well, there goes a ringing endorsement.
Just a fact for you.
And so we've got this story here. Again, you can go on westminster.com to see all of these and more. Gordon, as I've called him, Gordon, bigoted woman Brown, waits until now to call for tougher approach on migration. Another one of these politicians who's very wise after the fact, talking about the public want Westminster to address core causes of their dissatisfaction, concerns about stagnant wages, left behind communities, migration pressures, sovereignty and the state of the NHS. Yeah, no shit, Sherlock. Funny that you didn't actually do anything about it when you had the chance. I mean, it does really, I was saying to Patrick earlier, it does really annoy me when you get people who are I mean, how many people get the opportunity of being Prime Minister? Yeah. And you get in that position and you do absolutely naff all about all this. Then as soon as you're out of office, you're the genius. Oh, you should be doing this, you should be doing that, you should be doing the other. Well, why didn't you do any of it? Actions speak a lot louder than words. Yeah. And we're just going to play you the clip to give you, Gordon Brown, Mr. Let's have tougher controls in immigration, now reinventing himself as some sort of expert as to why there's anti-establishment feeling. I think this video gives you a bit of a hint why.
You can't say anything about the immigrants because you're saying that but all these Eastern Europeans what are coming in, where are they flocking from?
1 million people come from Europe, but 1 million British people have gone into Europe. You do know there's a lot of British people staying in Europe as well. That was a disaster. Well, okay. Should never have put me with that woman. Whose idea was that?
I don't know, I didn't see.
It's Sue, I think. They're just ridiculous.
I'm not sure they'll go with that one.
They will go with it.
What did she say?
Everything. She's just a sort of bigoted woman that said she used to be Labour. I mean, it's just ridiculous.
I mean, that's just classic Sue, isn't it, as we've heard there? Daring to put a real-life politician with a real-life member of the public who has genuine views. I mean, gosh, classic Sue. I bet she got the sack, although not as quick as Gordon Brown, of course. Look, this is the one thing that really does wind me up, as Michael's rightly said there, when you are in politics, especially at the high level of politics, you're in a decision-making role. You have the capacity to, therefore, by definition, make decisions. And it's all really well and good sitting from your armchair in your retreat in the Scottish Highlands or wherever Gordon Brown's retired to now. But realistically, you need to actually put your money where your mouth is and make these decisions when you're in Parliament and when you're doing it. And he would never have done it because it wouldn't have appealed to a lot of the Labour voters. He would never have done it because he wasn't strong enough to have done it. And so don't become now some kind of armchair critic. It's like when you see Robbie Savage dishing out football advice to people like John Terry, isn't it? Back off, mate. You're not in the same league.
Yeah, it's all a bit, the lack of self-awareness of these people is what always astounds me. For him to give a speech on dissatisfaction with politicians, on dissatisfaction with the mass migration mess, and here's a man who slagged off an elderly lady purely for, some two-faced little bitchy comment, like some little schoolgirl scuttling around in his car, talking about a bigoted woman, purely because she didn't say anything out of order at all. She just reflected public opinion. And that gave you, I think, a glimpse, an insight into what a lot of these people actually think about the public. If you're concerned about mass migration, if you've seen it hit your pay packet, if you've seen it place pressure on your local public services, as far as they're concerned, you're misinformed, you're ignorant, you're bigoted. What does that say about the political system?
And that's the same view, isn't it? If you apply that to the European Union decision. Now, a lot of these politicians would have the same view about you on that. Did you vote for Brexit? Oh, well, you're obviously not as intelligent as us. You're very ill-informed. You haven't looked at all the facts and figures. You don't know what you're on about. Let me make this decision for you. Don't worry. You don't have to thank me. I'll take this out of your hands because I know what's best. Well, I'm sorry. That's not on and that's not okay. And that actually is one of the single reasons why they lost the referendum in the first place. Because they patronise people like you and me.
Guys, if you're enjoying the show, give us a retweet, give us a like. And if you like the shirts, by the way, I love this one. June 23rd, 2016. You'll never forget the day, will you? When the country voted leave, go to westminster.com, click on shop, grab yourself a t-shirt, loads more coming out, plenty more outcomes. And if you want to support us, of course, westminster.com/support. Now this, for me, I think is going to hit a nerve with you guys. A poll that came out yesterday. Political correctness.
Oh, yeah.
Political correctness. Don't make jokes. Don't talk about difficult issues. Don't offend anyone. You can't offend anyone. If anyone's offended, then you're wrong. You shouldn't say these things. Because, apparently offence isn't just a normal part of life.
We'd be off air in seconds, wouldn't we?
Well, apparently so, yeah. And that's just the dress sense, to be fair. but political correctness, a poll done by Number Cruncher Politics for CapEx found that 66% of Brits, 66%, it's a landslide, think that political correctness has gone too far, compared to just 9% who think it hasn't gone far enough. And the interesting aspect of this for me is that when you think about that 9%, think how many of them dominate politics, dominate media, dominate public life. I mean, every single time now I put on the TV, I always say this to Patrick, it's one or two things. It's either a debate about someone being offended about some advert or something, or someone wants something banned. We're living in one of the most dreary. I mean, yesterday was it Miss America? No longer to be no longer to be judged on looks.
Well, the beauty pageant is now no longer a beauty pageant. Look, don't get me wrong. I don't think I've ever watched Miss America. It's not something that particularly excites me. It doesn't get me out of bed in the morning. But
does it not?
But it's just a little bit weird, isn't it? All right. Well, Miss America, we all know what it is. All the contestants go into it knowingly knowing what it is, and then now they're saying no, we're not going to judge it on beauty at all. It's just going to be about your personality. Like, all right, okay, fine, but I didn't think it was going to be used as some kind of Greenpeace activism site.
But just remember, guys, when you're next sat at the TV and you're watching one of these ridiculous, absurd debates about some snowflake being offended about, just some of the absolute. I mean, I saw one the other day about some sort of road sign that was offensive because it showed it was like men at work or something like that. The motto is. I think the outcome of this all is, if you're pathetic enough, you can actually be offended by anything.
Yeah,
that's the point. If you want to take offence, you can literally find an argument for anything. But the people that do are less than 10% of the population, and an overwhelming percentage of Brits have had enough of all this garbage and nonsense. So when you're sat there thinking the world's gone mad, they haven't. It's just what the skewed image of society that you're being presented by a small clique, a very tiny minority of people who tend to go, basically taking the levers of power in a lot of cultural and political spheres, and are creating this image as if lots of people agree. I mean, there was another one with the grid girls, wasn't there? Yeah. GMB ITV actually did a poll saying, do you think grid girls should be banned? I can't remember what it was, about 90%, I think, 80-90% said no, absolutely not. And it just shows you, when they have these debates, it's a tiny minority against mainstream public opinion that doesn't want to ban things and pretty much has a live and let live.
Yeah.
I don't watch Miss America, But if people want to watch it, let them watch it.
Yeah, I mean, like, so for me personally, I'm not a particularly easily offended bloke. There are plenty of things that go through my day-to-day life that might cause me offence. But you know what I usually think as soon as I become offended is, well, I've stopped caring, really, haven't I? Or I've got an opposing view to that. Let's have a healthy debate and discussion about it. I don't think you should be trying to ban things. I think that's a slippery slope. I also think you shouldn't because, as Michael said, very often, like when you see a lot of the things with militant feminists and things like that, they represent an absolute fraction of society. And if you pander to the beliefs or the desires of an absolute fraction of society in every aspect of society, then what are you left with? You know, you've actually managed to alienate most people to stop the offence of a small number of people. And I don't think that's okay. Also, just lastly on this from me, I think some forms of offence carry more weight than others, don't they? If I am offended by somebody who wants to tear down Winston Churchill's statue on Parliament Square, now my offence counts for absolutely nothing, of course. But the fraction of people in society that are protesting about anti-colonialism and things like that, well then their opinion is so valid that Channel 4 make a documentary about it. So I'm sorry, but you can't have it both ways.
Eddie with a cheeky little comment on here. I am offended by easily offended people.
Yes.
Yeah, I like that one. Right, now moving on to something that is very, very important, guys, and something we've tracked for a long, long time. Violence on the streets of England. I'm afraid it's shocking, it's revolting, it's out of control. A couple of stories we did yesterday on this, and I think we're actually going to show you the story first. Basically, in Tower Hamlets, schoolboy, 16 years of age, attacked with a claw hammer at a bus stop. Now, you probably haven't heard about this. Days gone by, I dare say this would have been quite a big story. You know, young teenager attacked in broad daylight, I think, by a bus. I don't know if it was. I think it was during the day. Broad daylight attack with a claw hammer by a bus stop. Shocking stuff. I think we'll just play the video first.
Yeah, play the video. Yeah, and I mean that ties in, guys, with just to add to this violent thing. I mean, I was on the train on the tube on the way to work, and I was flicking through Daily Mail's mobile app, and I just took a screenshot of some of the stories that were on there. Boy 14 charged with murder of 41-year-old man. Wild West London, 60 moped attacks a day. Woman 24 fighting for life after being punched to the ground. Met Chief says it's naive to think police cuts have not fueled violent crime. Rival gangs armed with axes, knives, and there was more than that. I just couldn't fit it all. That's in a row on the Daily Mail's website. I mean, guys, come on, that's absolutely ludicrous, isn't it?
And not just that, guys. Here's another story we did yesterday. This isn't just London. A lot of it going on in London. This is Nottingham, this next one. 13-year-old shot in Nottingham. I think it was a 13-year-old and a 20-year-old shot. A 16-year-old arrested. And it just shows you, I mean, we saw recently as well, a 13-year-old and a 16-year-old stabbed in Cambridge. In Seven Sisters this year, 14-year-old boy shot. Last year, 14-year-old shot dead in Newham.
Yeah, Rosa Lucy Turl has just come up with an absolutely fantastic comment, possibly comment of the day. She goes, I'm offended by people being stabbed. You know what? Isn't it interesting? If more people in this country were savagely offended about the scale of violent crime, it'd get done, as opposed to being offended about darts walk-on girls or grid girls or something like that. Get your priorities straight.
But the thing that gets my back up about this, guys, is you're right. There's a lack of outrage. And it's shocking to me, the ages of these people. You're talking about 13 and 14-year-olds growing up in our country being shot. I mean, something has gone badly, badly wrong. And I think it's the fact that we've not got enough police.
Yeah.
The sentences when people are caught doing wrong are pathetic. And when they are put inside jails, frankly... I was watching, it's very interesting actually, I was watching a prison documentary that the BBC broadcast the other day. You can go and see it on YouTube. I think it was Wandsworth Prison. And you go on the comments of it. It was a bit of a joke, to be honest. And you go on the comments of it, and you've got the Americans going, this looks like a holiday camp.
Yeah.
You know, we don't have shit like this. You know, running around taking the piss, doing drugs openly pretty much, running around like some sort of playhouse. That's not how they do it in America. And I think if you want to seriously give a short, sharp shock to criminals and show them that prison isn't the way forward and criminality, you know, you will get severely punished for it, then we need a root and branch reform to our criminal justice system, and that involves getting a lot tougher than we are at the minute.
Well, absolutely. I mean, it's common sense. You know, the issue that we have, actually, something I was discussing today with a good source of mine. It was saying, because Theresa May was at the Home Office for so long, if she now as Prime Minister wants to make changes to the way that crime is dealt with, to the number of police on the beat, for example, the police budget, stop and search, she can't do that because that's an admittance to her that she got things wrong while she was Home Secretary. Of course, there is a way around that, isn't there? You say times have changed, things have moved on, the economy's in better shape now so we can put more resources in. Of course, there's a way of doing it, but as far as she's concerned, she can't because it would be an admittance that she'd got things wrong previously. That's a terrible state for Britain to be in, where you've got a Prime Minister who is unwilling to make the changes that are needed to try and preserve her own reputation. That's not okay.
Guys, we're going to go on the last story now. As ever, we like to leave you with a little smile on your face. This shows you, this next story, this final story, it shows you the potential if the government have the bollocks to actually carry out Brexit, lock, stock and barrel, and take back control of our fishing industry, of our waters from the European Union. Basically, a new report showing that and you can go, as ever, go and see this on westmonster.com, you go and see all the stories we've talked about today. A report basically coming out suggesting that the seafood industry in Scotland could be boosted by £540 million and 5,000 jobs. Bertie Armstrong from the Scottish Fishermen's Federation saying this report simply underlines the importance of the UK regaining sovereignty over its waters and becoming an independent coastal state with the powers to control access and fishing opportunity. For Scotland, that could be worth an additional £540 million in income and create 5,000 more jobs in the sector. There you go. That's the potential. If you go independent, if you take back control, as 17.4 million people voted for, if you see this through, there's so much opportunity there for Brexit. But it has to be done with a radical approach in mind, not seeming to just sort of stay close to the European Union as possible. You need a clean break, take back control, determine our own destiny. I mean, that's the exciting future I want to see.
Absolutely. I mean, I'm going to use a cricketing analogy now, which I'm sure is going to alienate most of these people, but I love cricket. If you are, you're batting, you're a batsman, and you're facing a spin bowler, and you decide, I want to hit him out the park, I want to hit a six, and you get halfway through your shot, and you just go, I'm not sure about this. Well, you get caught on the boundary, don't you? Go for it, or don't go for it at all. The people have told you to go for it, so let's have a real pop and try and make the most of it. Bit of positivity, guys, a little bit of energy and actual focus, because at the minute, if you're just going for something that doesn't piss off people too badly on either side, what have you done? You've not pleased anybody, have you?
We don't want single runs here at Westminster. We are strictly sixes all the way. Guys, thank you very much for joining us as ever. If you want to support us, go to westminster.com/support. If you want a shirt, Independence Day is now fast approaching, June the 23rd. Click on shop on westminster.com. Go to get yourself a shirt. Have a lovely day. We'll see you soon.
Take care, guys.